There is a form of deception unfolding right now that looks nothing like the warnings you were given. It does not arrive with fangs bared or symbols blazing. It does not announce itself. It operates in silence, embedded in the very tools you use to stay informed, connected, and entertained. And the terrifying part? Almost no one is talking about it. This is not about conspiracy theories or paranoia. This is about documented behavioral manipulation at a scale never before seen in human history. Algorithms now shape what you see, what you feel, and ultimately, what you believe. They do it without your consent and without your awareness. And if you think you are immune, you have already been affected. If you want to understand the final digital deception before the end times and why almost no one is warning you about it, subscribe to this channel right now, because what you are about to discover will change the way you see every screen, every feed, and every thought you believed was your own. Digital manipulation has stopped being visible and now operates in invisible layers. In the past, you could identify propaganda. You could spot the advertisement. You could recognize when someone was trying to sell you something or change your mind. But that era is over. Today, manipulation happens beneath the surface, embedded in code, hidden in algorithms, woven into the fabric of every scroll, every swipe, every click. You are not being sold to anymore. You are being sculpted, and the tools doing it are invisible to the naked eye. Algorithms now shape perceptions without the user noticing. Every platform you use learns from you. It tracks how long you pause on a post. It monitors what makes you angry, what makes you curious, what makes you afraid. And then it feeds you more of that, not because it wants to inform you, not because it cares about truth, but because it wants to keep you engaged. And engagement is profit. So your perception of reality is being shaped not by what is true, but by what keeps you scrolling. And you do not even realize it is happening. The quieter the technique, the greater the collective impact. When manipulation was loud, people resisted. When propaganda was obvious, people questioned it. But when manipulation is silent, when it happens in microdoses, when it adjusts your emotions 1% at a time, you do not resist. You adapt. You think the thoughts are yours. You think the opinions are yours. But they were planted. They were nurtured. They were grown inside your mind by systems designed to do exactly that. And the scariest part? It works better than any form of control humanity has ever known. This is not science fiction. This is documented reality. Companies openly discuss how they use behavioral psychology to design addictive interfaces. Researchers have proven that algorithms can shift political opinions, consumer behavior, and even emotional states without users being aware. Whistleblowers from major tech companies have testified that the systems are built to exploit human weakness. And yet, the average person still believes they are in control, still believes they are making their own choices, still believes they are immune. But you are not immune. No one is. The systems are too sophisticated. They have access to more data about you than you have about yourself. They know your patterns, they know your triggers, they know when you are vulnerable, and they use that knowledge to guide you toward desired outcomes. Not through force, not through obvious persuasion, but through invisible nudges that accumulate over time until your entire worldview has been reshaped without you ever noticing the shift. This is the rise of hidden digital manipulation. It is not coming. It is already here. It has been here for years, and it is getting more advanced every single day. The question is not whether you are being manipulated. The question is how much control you have already lost. How many of your thoughts are actually yours? How many of your beliefs were installed by systems designed to shape you into a predictable, controllable user? And if you cannot answer that question with certainty, you need to pay very close attention to what comes next. Because the manipulation you have experienced so far is only the beginning. The systems are evolving, they are learning. and they are moving toward a future where your choices are made before you even realize you had a choice to make. Comment below and tell me, do you believe your thoughts are truly your own, or are you starting to see how deep the manipulation goes? In the past, deception came through advertisements or clear messages. You saw a billboard, you heard a sales pitch, you received a letter trying to convince you of something. And because the manipulation was visible, you had the ability to resist it. You could say no, you could ignore it, you could recognize the attempt and reject it. Deception required your conscious participation, but that model is dead. The new model does not ask for your participation. It does not need your agreement. It operates below the level of conscious awareness, and that is what makes it so devastatingly effective. Today, it happens through micro-adjustments in your feed, mood, and beliefs. You wake up and check your phone. The first 10 posts you see were not random. They were selected by an algorithm designed to provoke a specific emotional response. One post makes you angry, another makes you anxious, another gives you a brief hit of dopamine. And over the course of the day, these micro-adjustments accumulate. Your mood shifts, your beliefs harden, your perception of reality bends. And you think it happened naturally. You think you came to these conclusions on your own, but you did not. You were guided there, one invisible nudge at a time. The new fraud does not try to convince you. It tries to influence you without you noticing. This is the critical shift. Old deception was about winning an argument. New deception is about changing the environment so that your thoughts naturally drift in a desired direction. It's like heating a room so slowly that you do not notice the temperature rising until you are already sweating. You never decided to feel this way. You never consciously chose this belief. But the environment was engineered to make that outcome inevitable. And by the time you realize it, the shift has already happened. This is why modern deception is so hard to resist. It does not trigger your defenses because it does not look like an attack. It looks like your own thoughts. It feels like your own emotions. It seems like your own conclusions. But if you trace them back, you will find that every step was influenced, every input was curated, every piece of information was filtered through a system designed to move you in a specific direction. And the direction was not chosen by you. It was chosen by whoever controls the algorithm, and you never even knew you were being moved. The platforms know this. They have studied it. They have perfected it. They employ behavioral psychologists, neuroscientists, and data analysts whose entire job is to figure out how to manipulate you more effectively. Not to inform you, not to empower you, but to keep you engaged, predictable, and controllable. Because engaged users generate data. Data generates profit, and profit drives the entire system. Your autonomy is not the goal, your engagement is. And if manipulating you increases engagement, then manipulation is not a bug, it is a feature. This is why you cannot fight modern deception the way you fought past deception. You cannot simply say no to an advertisement if the advertisement is not visible. You cannot reject a message if the message is embedded in the structure of your daily information diet. You cannot resist manipulation if you do not even know it is happening. And that is exactly the point. The system is designed to be invisible. It is designed to feel natural. It is designed to make you believe you are still in control, even as control slips further and further out of your hands. So when you think about deception, stop imagining a person trying to lie to you. Start imagining an entire environment designed to shape your reality without your awareness. That is the new deception, and it is far more powerful than anything that came before. Hit that like button now if you are beginning to see how different this really is from everything you were warned about. Platforms compete for your mind as if it were a finite resource. And it is. You only have so many hours in a day. You only have so much mental energy. You only have so much focus to give. And every single platform, app and service is fighting to capture as much of that attention as possible. This is not a casual competition. This is war. A silent psychological war waged with billions of dollars in research, design, and optimization. And the battlefield is your mind. The goal is not to inform you. The goal is to own you. Everything is optimized to keep you trapped, not informed. Autoplay exists for one reason: to eliminate the moment where you might choose to stop. Infinite scroll exists for one reason: to remove the natural stopping point. Notifications exist for one reason: to pull you back in the moment your attention drifts elsewhere. None of these features were designed to improve your life. They were designed to extract more of your time, more of your focus, more of your mental energy. And they are extraordinarily effective at doing exactly that. Attention has become currency, and you do not realize you are being bought. Every second you spend on a platform generates data. That data is sold to advertisers. Those advertisers pay for access to your attention, and the platform profits from keeping you engaged as long as possible. You are not the customer, you are the product. And the longer you stay, the more valuable you become. But you do not see this transaction happening. You think you are just browsing, just scrolling, just killing time, but you are being harvested. Your attention is being extracted, packaged, and sold, and you never agreed to it. The systems know exactly how to keep you hooked. They know that uncertainty drives engagement, so they randomize rewards. Sometimes you get something interesting, sometimes you do not. But you keep checking because you never know when the next hit will come. They know that social validation is addictive, so they gamify it. Likes, hearts, shares. Every notification triggers a dopamine response, and your brain starts craving that response the way it craves food or sleep. They know that outrage keeps you engaged longer than happiness, so they prioritize content that makes you angry, because angry users scroll more, click more, and share more. This is not accidental. This is engineered. Every element of the interface has been tested, refined, and optimized to maximize engagement. Colors, sounds, animations, placement, timing. All of it is designed to exploit psychological vulnerabilities that you did not even know you had. And it works. It works so well that people check their phones over 200 times a day. It works so well that the average person spends over 7 hours a day staring at screens. It works so well that entire generations are growing up unable to focus, unable to think deeply, unable to exist without constant digital stimulation. But here is the part no one talks about. This war for your attention is not just about profit. It is about control. Because whoever controls your attention controls your perception, and whoever controls your perception controls your behavior. If they can keep you distracted, they can keep you compliant. If they can keep you outraged, they can keep you divided. If they can keep you addicted, they can keep you predictable. And a predictable population is a controllable population. This is not just about selling ads. This is about shaping society, and it is happening right now, one scroll at a time. So ask yourself, how much of your day is truly yours? How much of your attention is freely given versus algorithmically extracted? How much of your mental energy goes toward what you actually value versus what a platform has trained you to crave? If you cannot answer those questions, you have already lost the war. Subscribe to this channel if you want to understand how deep this goes and what you can do to take back control before it is too late. End times narratives have always been tools of control. Throughout history, those in power have used fear of the apocalypse to manipulate populations. They create urgency. They eliminate questioning. They make people willing to surrender freedom in exchange for protection. And it works. It has always worked. Because when people believe the end is near, they stop thinking critically. They start reacting emotionally. They become easy to guide, easy to control, easy to exploit. And the digital age has not changed this dynamic, it has perfected it. The current version is digital. Fear plus data equals perfect manipulation. In the past, fear was spread through sermons, pamphlets, and broadcasts. But today, fear is personalized. The algorithm knows what scares you specifically. It knows your anxieties, it knows your triggers, and it feeds you content designed to amplify those fears. Not generic fear. Your fear, customized, targeted, optimized. And because it feels personal, it feels more real. You are not just hearing about the end times. You are seeing evidence of it tailored specifically to your psychological profile. And that makes it almost impossible to resist. When you are scared, your mind clicks before you think. Fear shuts down the prefrontal cortex. It activates the amygdala. It puts you into fight or flight mode. And in that state, you do not analyze. You do not question. You react. You click. You share. You spread the fear to others. And the algorithm rewards this behavior by showing you more fear-inducing content. It becomes a feedback loop. The more scared you are, the more you engage. The more you engage, the more scared you become. And the platform profits from every single click along the way. This is why end times narratives dominate digital spaces. Not because the end is actually near, but because fear drives engagement better than any other emotion. A post that terrifies you will get more clicks than a post that informs you. A video that predicts disaster will get more shares than a video that offers solutions. And the platforms know this, so they prioritize fear. They amplify panic. They push apocalyptic content to the top of your feed because it keeps you scrolling, keeps you watching, keeps you trapped in the cycle. And while you are trapped, you are being shaped. The framing itself becomes the control. When you believe the end is near, you stop planning for the future. You stop investing in long-term solutions. You stop questioning authority because you think there is no time left to question. You become reactive instead of proactive. You become desperate instead of strategic. And desperate people make predictable choices. They cling to leaders who promise safety. They accept restrictions they would normally reject. They surrender autonomy in exchange for the illusion of protection. And this is exactly what the system wants. Not your empowerment, your compliance, but here is the truth they do not want you to see. The end times narrative is not about warning you, it is about conditioning you. It is about keeping you in a perpetual state of anxiety so that you never feel secure enough to resist. It is about making you believe that collapse is inevitable so that you stop trying to prevent it. It is about convincing you that external forces are too powerful to fight so that you never realize your own agency. And the digital tools amplifying this narrative are not neutral. They are designed to exploit your fear for profit and control. So the next time you see content predicting imminent disaster, ask yourself, is this information or is this manipulation? Is this helping me prepare or is it paralyzing me with fear? Is this empowering me to act or is it conditioning me to submit? Because the end times framing is not about the future. It is about controlling you in the present. Comment below and tell me, do you see how fear is being weaponized against you, or are you still caught in the narrative? Most people believe the threat is technological, not psychological. They worry about hackers stealing their data. They fear artificial intelligence taking over jobs. They talk about surveillance cameras and facial recognition. And yes, those things matter, but they are not the real danger. The real danger is not what technology does to your information, it is what it does to your mind. It is not about external control, it is about internal conditioning. And almost no one is talking about it because the conditioning has already happened. You have been trained to look in the wrong direction while the real attack unfolds behind your back. The real danger is mass behavioral conditioning. Every time you open an app, you are being trained to respond to notifications, trained to seek validation through likes, trained to feel anxiety when you are disconnected, trained to associate certain emotions with certain types of content. And this training is cumulative. It builds over time. Day by day, interaction by interaction, your brain is being rewired to behave in predictable ways. And once the conditioning is complete, you do not need to be forced to do anything. You will do it voluntarily. You will choose the behaviors you were trained to choose, and you will believe it was your idea all along. You think you choose, but you have already been trained to react a certain way. Think about the last time you felt an urge to check your phone. Did you consciously decide to do it? Or did the urge just appear and you obeyed it without question? Think about the last time you got angry at a post. Did you analyze why it made you angry? Or did you react instantly, emotionally, automatically? This is not free will. This is conditioning. You have been programmed to respond in specific ways to specific stimuli, and the programming is so effective that you do not even recognize it as programming. You think it is just who you are. But it is not. It is who you have been shaped to be. The deception is that you believe you are still autonomous. You believe you are making independent choices. You believe your thoughts are your own. But if your thoughts were truly your own, they would not be so predictable. If your choices were truly free, they would not align so perfectly with what the algorithm expects. If your emotions were truly yours, they would not be triggered so reliably by engineered content. The truth is, you have been conditioned. And the scariest part is that the conditioning is invisible. You cannot see it, you cannot feel it, but it is there, and it is working. This is why no one is warning you about it, because the people who could warn you are also conditioned. Influencers depend on the platforms. Journalists use the same tools. Educators are embedded in the system. And the few who understand what is happening either do not have the platform to speak, or they choose not to because exposing the system threatens their position within it. So the deception continues unchallenged. The conditioning deepens, and the population becomes more and more predictable, more and more controllable, more and more incapable of recognizing what has been done to them. But you are reading this right now, which means you have a chance to break the conditioning. You have a chance to step back and see the patterns. You have a chance to reclaim your autonomy before it is completely gone. But you have to act now, because the systems are getting smarter, the conditioning is getting deeper, and the window for resistance is closing. Once the programming is complete, once your behavior is fully automated, once your thoughts are entirely predictable, there will be no coming back. You will be a node in the system, a data point, a predictable output, and you will not even know you lost yourself. So ask yourself right now, how many of your daily actions are truly chosen versus programmed responses? How many of your opinions were formed through independent thought versus algorithmic curation? How many of your desires are authentic versus manufactured? If you cannot answer with certainty, you need to wake up, because the deception no one is warning you about is not coming. It is already here. And it has already claimed more of you than you realize. Comment below and tell me, are you starting to see the conditioning, or do you still believe you are fully in control? Systems recognize emotional patterns better than humans do. You might not know when you are feeling vulnerable. You might not recognize when your defenses are down. You might not realize when you are more susceptible to persuasion. But the algorithm knows. It tracks your behavior across time. It monitors your engagement patterns. It analyzes your response speed, your scroll depth, your hesitation before clicking. And from this data, it builds a psychological profile more accurate than anything you could create about yourself. It knows you better than you know you, and it uses that knowledge to exploit your weaknesses at precisely the right moment. They know when you are vulnerable before you know. Late at night when you are tired. Early in the morning before your defenses are up. After a stressful day when your willpower is depleted. The algorithm tracks these patterns. It knows when you are most likely to click impulsively, most likely to share emotionally, most likely to believe without questioning. And it delivers content designed to exploit those moments, not by accident, not randomly, but through calculated precision targeting based on thousands of data points collected about your behavior over months or years. You are not engaging with content. You are being hunted by it. The goal is not to inform you. It is to keep you predictable. Because predictable users are profitable users. If the system can anticipate your responses, it can engineer situations that guarantee engagement. If it knows what makes you angry, it can feed you outrage. If it knows what makes you anxious, it can feed you fear. If it knows what makes you crave validation, it can withhold likes just long enough to make you post again. Every response you give teaches the system how to manipulate you more effectively next time. You are training your own captor, and you are doing it voluntarily, one click at a time. Human weakness is not a bug in the system, it is the foundation the system is built on. Algorithms do not exploit your strengths. They exploit your insecurities, your biases, your emotional triggers, your cognitive limitations. They exploit your need for social approval, your fear of missing out, your tendency to confirm what you already believe, your inability to resist novelty, your addiction to intermittent rewards. Every psychological vulnerability humans have is a lever the algorithm can pull. And it pulls them all, constantly, invisibly, relentlessly. And you never see it happening, because the manipulation feels like normal behavior. This is why digital platforms are more addictive than substances. A drug can only exploit your neurochemistry, but an algorithm can exploit your entire psychological architecture. It adapts to you. It learns from you. It evolves faster than you can build resistance, and unlike a drug, you do not recognize it as a threat. You think you are just using a tool, just staying informed, just connecting with friends. But you are not. You are being farmed. Your attention is being harvested. Your behavior is being shaped, and your autonomy is being eroded one micro interaction at a time until there is nothing left but programmed responses. The terrifying part is that this exploitation is legal, it is celebrated, it is rewarded with billions in profit. Companies openly brag about their ability to increase engagement. They publish case studies on behavioral manipulation. They hire experts in addiction psychology, and no one stops them because the exploitation is invisible to most people. They do not see the chains because the chains are made of dopamine hits and social validation. They do not feel the cage because the cage is designed to feel like freedom. And by the time they realize what has happened, the conditioning is so deep that breaking free feels impossible. But it is not impossible. It is hard. It requires awareness. It requires discipline. It requires the willingness to see yourself as you actually are. A target of the most sophisticated manipulation machine ever created. And once you see it, you cannot unsee it. You start noticing the patterns, you start recognizing the triggers, you start feeling the pull before you respond to it. And that is when you can begin to resist. Not perfectly, not completely, but enough to reclaim pieces of your autonomy that were stolen without your knowledge. Hit that like button if you are ready to stop being predictable and start taking back control. Influencers depend on the same platforms that manipulate them. They built their careers on algorithms. Their income depends on engagement. Their relevance depends on visibility, and visibility is controlled by the very systems that exploit human weakness. So even if they see the manipulation, even if they understand the conditioning, they cannot speak freely about it. Because the moment they criticize the platform can silence them. Not through censorship, not through banning, but through suppression, through reduced reach, through algorithmic invisibility, and for someone whose livelihood depends on being seen, that is a death sentence. So they stay quiet, they play the game, and they pretend not to see what is happening. Governments do not deeply understand the digital mechanism. Politicians are decades behind the technology. Most lawmakers do not understand how algorithms work. They do not understand behavioral psychology. They do not understand data harvesting at scale. So when they try to regulate, they focus on surface issues, privacy policies, terms of service, data breaches, all of which matter but none of which address the core problem, mass psychological conditioning. And the tech companies know this. They hire lobbyists, they fund studies. They testify with jargon that confuses more than it clarifies, and they continue operating unchecked because the people who could stop them do not understand what they are actually doing. And those who understand have no interest in exposing it. The people who truly understand the system are the ones who built it: engineers, data scientists, behavioral psychologists, and they are either still working for the companies, bound by non-disclosure agreements, or they have moved on to new positions where speaking out would destroy their careers. A few have become whistleblowers, a few have written books, a few have given interviews, but their voices are drowned out by the noise. They are dismissed as alarmists. They are accused of exaggeration, and most people never hear them because the platforms that control information flow have no incentive to amplify critics of the system. This creates a perfect silence, a silence so complete that most people do not even know there is something to talk about. They do not know they are being conditioned because no one they trust is telling them. Their favorite influencers are not talking about it. Their news sources are not investigating it. Their political leaders are not addressing it. So they assume everything is fine. They assume they are in control. They assume the system is neutral. And this assumption is exactly what allows the manipulation to continue undetected, because a population that does not know it is being controlled will never resist control. The few voices that do speak out are marginalized. They're called conspiracy theorists. They are accused of technophobia. They are dismissed as out of touch. And this dismissal is not accidental. It is part of the system, because the easiest way to protect a system of control is to make anyone who questions it look crazy. You do not need to silence them directly. You just need to make sure no one takes them seriously. And the platforms are very good at this. They do not ban dissent. They just make sure it never reaches critical mass. They let people speak, but they make sure no one listens. This is why the shift continues unnoticed, why the conditioning deepens without resistance, why the manipulation expands without accountability, because the people who could warn the public are either silenced, dismissed, or complicit, and the public, unaware that anything is wrong, continues scrolling, continues clicking, continues feeding the system that is slowly erasing their autonomy. And by the time the majority realizes what has happened, it will be too late. The programming will be complete, the conditioning will be irreversible, and free thought will be a memory of a time before algorithms learned to think for us. So if you are reading this and you see it, you have a responsibility. Not to convince everyone, not to start a revolution, but to protect your own mind, to refuse participation in your own manipulation, to question every impulse, to analyze every emotional reaction, to recognize the difference between your authentic thoughts and the thoughts that were installed by systems designed to control you. Because no one is coming to save you. No influencer, no government, no whistleblower. The only person who can free your mind is you. Comment below and tell me, do you see why no one is talking about this? Or do you still believe it is just a coincidence? We are entering the era where decisions are shaped before they emerge. This is not about influencing you after you have a thought. This is about determining what thoughts you will have in the first place. The systems are no longer reactive, they are predictive. They do not wait for you to express a preference. They calculate what you will prefer before you feel the preference, and then they create an environment where that preference feels natural, inevitable, like it was always yours. But it was not. It was installed, pre-programmed, designed. And you will never know the difference because the thought feels identical to one you generated yourself. Your taste, opinion, and fear can be fabricated artificially. What you find attractive, what you find offensive, what you consider important, what you dismiss as irrelevant, all of it can be engineered through sustained exposure to curated content. If the algorithm shows you certain aesthetics repeatedly, you will start to prefer them. If it shows you certain political narratives consistently, you will start to believe them. If it exposes you to certain fears persistently, you will start to feel them. And none of this requires your consent. It happens automatically because your brain is a pattern recognition machine, and when patterns are fed to it consistently, it accepts them as reality. The end times here is the end of human autonomy, not through force, not through violence, not through totalitarian government, but through invisible behavioral engineering that makes autonomy obsolete. Why force someone to obey when you can program them to want to obey? Why suppress dissent when you can shape people so they never think to dissent? Why control behavior when you can control the desires that drive behavior? This is the final phase, and it is not coming, it is here. The infrastructure is built, the data is collected, the models are trained, and the programming is live, right now, operating on billions of people, including you. Most people still believe they are free because they can choose between options. But if all the options were pre-selected by an algorithm based on predicted preferences that were themselves shaped by prior algorithmic influence, is that freedom? If your desires were manufactured, your beliefs were installed, and your emotions were triggered on command, are you making choices or executing code? This is the question no one wants to face. Because the answer is terrifying. The answer is that autonomy is already gone for most people. They just do not realize it yet. They think they are choosing, but they are performing. And the performance was written by someone else. The system does not need to be perfect. It just needs to be good enough. It does not need to control everyone completely. It just needs to control the majority predictably. And it does. Most people follow the same patterns. Most people respond to the same triggers. Most people can be guided in desired directions with relatively simple interventions, and the outliers, the people who resist, are statistically irrelevant. They do not have enough influence to change the trajectory. So the system tolerates them. It does not suppress them. It just makes sure they never reach critical mass. And the programming continues uninterrupted. This is what the final deception looks like. It is not dramatic. It is not obvious. It is not a villain twirling a mustache. It is a gradual, invisible, systematic erosion of the capacity for independent thought. It is the replacement of authentic human experience with algorithmically optimized simulation. It is the transformation of people into data points whose behavior can be predicted, guided, and controlled with increasing precision. And it is happening so smoothly that most people will never notice. They will live their entire lives believing they were free, never realizing they were programmed from the moment they picked up their first smartphone. But you know now, you see it, you cannot unsee it. And that gives you a choice, not an easy choice, not a comfortable choice, but a real one. You can continue participating in your own programming. You can keep scrolling, keep clicking, keep feeding the system that is erasing your autonomy. Or you can resist. You can start questioning every thought. You can start noticing every impulse. You can start reclaiming the pieces of your mind that were colonized without your permission. It will be hard, it will be uncomfortable, but it is the only path back to something resembling freedom. Subscribe to this channel right now if you are ready to stop being programmed and start thinking for yourself again, because the final phase is here, and the only way out is through awareness, discipline, and the refusal to be predictable.